Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. School is in session. I guess it was less than okay, we're going to reconvene the regular meeting. We're on item 5 of the agenda at 7:30. And I am going to ask Ms. Saucedo to lead us in the flag salute. Since you're here? Did I say your name right? I was about to say Hannah. Right there.
Okay.
You just put her under pressure already.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, we're up to item 7, public comments. There's one yellow card, Ms. Holland. And you know the deal with the lights. Please state your name for the record,
Dee Holland. I was reading the minutes for the special meeting in August, I don't remember the date, and Ken Falsgrove clearly asked, was every means possible made to contact those that could not be there? I was emailed, my home phone was called, my husband answered and he was told, whoever called, that my cell phone would not take messages. You would have to text. I got nothing on my cell phone. Nothing at all. I even went back, I've been told that they got called and my voice message was Philip. I've gone back, there is no phone call on this cell phone. I've been forced to go ahead and purchase a tablet so I can check my emails. I did get 2 emails. But I want to make it perfectly clear that I was not contacted, even though I made it perfectly clear that I would be out of the state during those dates.
Thank you. Okay, item 8.01, AADUSD representative.
You already heard my name. I'm Nicole Salcedo. I'm a school counselor at Vasquez. I'm representing AATA today. We just want to find out when we should expect to see the collective bargaining agreement available to view on the website. And also, we don't need an answer right now, but we would like to know the plan for the future with our retaining high-quality teachers, if there's a plan in place for how we can help support our teachers who have their preliminary credential to get a clear credential. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll follow up on that. Okay. Item 8.2, CSEA representative.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being here. 8.3, student representative.
Okay, so at Meadowlark, what's going on lately was back to school night, which was a success, and then they have the first student council rally was held on 9/11, and then there's enrichment programs that will begin Friday on the 13th. It includes theater, dance, and art, and then PTO is putting on a cookie dough popcorn fundraiser, which is October 1st through October 31st, and then picture day is happening the 1st. At High Desert, there's been earthquake and emergency drills, and so the first drill went really well, and so the items students and staff are hoping to improve on are the PA system wasn't loud enough or heard in classrooms, so they're going to improve that just for safety, and then backpacks weren't in the classrooms, so next time the students will make an effort to leave their backpacks behind. And back to school night was September 10th, and food was provided and sold by HDS boosters, HDS, ELAC, and ASMO. And then as far as High Desert Athletics, volleyball got their first win on September 4th. Volleyball versus Sword Prep was September 9th. And volleyball versus Cal City is September 11th in Cal City. And then cross-country runners are encouraged to bring lots of water to practice because it's very hot. The events going on at Vasquez, back to school night was September 11th yesterday. And then it's homecoming week, so homecoming spirit week is the 9th through the 13th. There's a pep rally tomorrow in the Vasquez gym. And then the homecoming dances in the gym on September 21st. The first progress period ends on September 13th, so high achieving students will be invited to the student recognition luncheon on September 17th. Food Day is on September 19th, and so students from clubs and organizations will sell food at lunch to raise money. And then as far as athletics goes, cross country has its first race on September 19th at Griffith Park. Football has a homecoming game tomorrow, Friday 13th, at 7 p.m. against Dulce. Girls tennis defeated Desert on the 10th and Berkeley on the 11th. And girls volleyball had a home game today against Cal City, had a home game today, and there's a tournament in Cal City this weekend. And varsity won the silver bracket at their tournament on Mammoth last weekend. And so that's everything.
Any questions? Thank you. 8.4 Superintendent Safety Report.
So just a couple of things on the safety report. We have our committee members, so again, it's myself, I'm going to chair it at least to start out. And this morning, Mr. Brock and myself attended the AV Safety Council. So at some point, I think we're going to kind of co-chair it, but probably lean it off to Mr. Brock at a certain point, trying to let him get on day 20 here and just get his feet wet at the high score now. So on that committee, we have principals. We'll have our tech folks on there. Ms. David, AADUSD representatives will be on that, as well as CSEA, and we have parents on that committee as well. Mr. Anthony Mann is going to sit on that safety committee also. The AV update from this morning was excellent. So it's facilitated by a lady named Betsy Sanchez, who works at AV College as their public relations person. But she brought in a battalion chief from the fire department and kind of walked us through some safety pieces, kind of a Q&A session. That was excellent. One of the things that I'd like to look into is CERT training, which is Community Emergency Response Training. Antelope Valley has excellent training opportunities for the district. It's a 21-hour training course. We can include teachers, classified employees, administration. It will be something that I think will be very valuable for the district to go through. I went through it as an assistant principal probably 20, 25 years ago, and the training's changed a lot. So it's very different now compared to then, and so I think it would be very valuable for our district to participate in that. One of the things they talked about was the knock box, and I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know where we are with our knock boxes, but what those are, it allows the fire department and law enforcement to have a box located at the front of the school that they can use to get into the school site. Those keys are highly guarded, and it expedites whatever process they're having to go through in a crisis or disaster situation. So it's something that we probably need to discuss on our safety committee and our principals and see where we're at with that so that they get familiar with our campuses as well. There's a text messaging app that Matt and I are going to become familiar with that lets us know about other disasters happening in the Antelope Valley or other crises happening at the same time. A quick comment on the football game. I think almost everybody knows, but if not, there was a couple of verbal altercations at the last football game 2 weeks ago that led to at least one physical altercation that I'm aware of. I want to thank Mr. Brockway for the action that he took at that game. He did a great job just controlling the situation, separating our visiting fans from our home fans, exiting that side of the stadium first and the other side. In the ensuing melee, he restrained one spectator and they went to the ground. There were some rumors that Matt got punched. He did not. We were on the phone at 11 o'clock that night, and I think the next morning as well, and just want to recognize him for his efforts since that time, where he's walked the stadium twice, once with Lynn David and Ernesto Mora, looking at how we can change the facilities and make it as safe as possible for our students and spectators and visitors. Then a second time a couple days ago with myself and Mr. Jorgensen. And so we've got some ideas floating around. Mr. Jorgensen shared quite a few ideas, looking at it from the perspective of his former AD hat, coaching hat, football coach hat. And we're taking those things under consideration. Due to the time constraints of tomorrow night's game, we're going with the initial plan that Matt came up with Lynn David and Ernesto Mora. We have a month, I think, before the next home game after that, which will buy some time to implement some of the things that you talked about, perhaps, Tim, at the walkthrough 2 days ago. I want to thank you for that. And then just to comment on inclement weather, there's been some concern, rightfully so, just about the inclement weather and the heat. And I know you mentioned about hydrating and the water bottles in your student report, and that's extremely important. So I want to thank again our high school principal for putting out a message addressing that. Absolutely, our students are not only allowed to, but encouraged to bring water to school, particularly if they're running on a day when they do the mile run on PE, which I understand was Thursdays. And so, in addition to that, I shared with Mr. Brockway the Los Angeles Unified School District policy on inclement weather with regard to heat, and I shared our own through the Gamut, which is a searching mechanism you can use for our own board policy. I shared with you that as well. He's taking those pieces along with some Antelope Valley policies, and we're going to prepare some language for the board to approve regarding inclement weather that's more specific than what we currently have. And that concludes the safety report.
Thank you. 8.5, District Strategic Plan Report.
So the gold standard. So I have some handouts for the board. We have some extras for our local press just to take a look at. You can look at them, but you can't take them yet because they won't be finalized till September 26th. So tonight is first read, which is in your board agenda, but we took the language that was presented during the day-and-a-half workshops with our facilitators on strategic planning. We took that language, we put it into a format that I think you'll appreciate, and interested in any feedback that you have. So you're going to get some folders that have been rebranded. So due to the input, yeah, Alan and Aaron, again, I think just knocked it out of the park as far as the graphics and the branding on this. It's the two gentlemen, the father-son team that you met back in June. I brought them to a board meeting. But they changed it from Stay Gold per the input from all stakeholders at the strategic planning meetings. So it was thought that Stay Gold is a little bit ambiguous, and so I had suggested the gold standard. The stakeholders liked that, they went with that, and the stakeholders came up with the language underneath that. So the tagline would be empowering today's learners to thrive in tomorrow's world. So I am looking just for some thoughts from the board. Do we want to wait until September 26th for any changes at all? Just to make sure that, in other words, we have memos, we have email signatures. It's not a problem. We can wait 2 weeks to kind of get everything going and then wait till this is finalized. That would be my thought before we start changing anything as far as posters and insignias.
I would say we should wait till it's adopted.
Right? Yeah.
I have a question. Is this including the input of the strategic plan with the community?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. And what they're looking at, so they have these folders, but then what they're looking at inside is it says the gold standard, And then inside are the 5 standards, so we're just calling them gold standard 1, gold standard 2, and so on. But this is the input from our community. Lillian Smith was there, Tracy Piston, our board was there, Kelly was there, Lee, you were there. So our principals, of course, we had teachers there, classified employees. Ms. T was on there, Nicole Chung. So we got Nicole Salcedo, thank you. So this is legitimate. This is from grassroots. So.
You wanted to collect these until it's officially released. That's fine.
Well, no, you can keep yours.
Okay.
You can. Anybody from the public who'd like to see them can. We have extras, but we just want to collect from the public until the board finalizes on September 26th.
So don't put that, he's all freaked out that there's an extra one. Just put it over there. Put it underneath whatever it is.
So, board, if you have any comments, as you're looking this over the next couple of weeks, just email, and then we can address that. And that concludes the gold standard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We got it. Okay, 8.5, I think you handled the gold standard in your strategic plan report.
The same.
Same, so one and the same. So that covered 8.5 and 8.6. 8.7 is submissions.
We have 2 submissions. Do we skip superintendent council?
Did I mess up?
I don't see that. They're only gone out of order.
Okay, it's not on there, but,
Safety plan, strategic, oh, you know what it is? We have the same thing twice, I apologize. So we don't have superintendent comments, but if the board's okay with it, I'll go into superintendent comments. So it says strategic plan for 8.5 and gold standard for 8.6. Those 2 are one and the same.
right.
So,
So 8.5 is really superintendent comments because we just did 8.6.
yes.
Okay.
So, facilities. If you've noticed, they got out to our fence. So thank you for your patience. I know it's been 2 years, but we're doing it legally. We've vetted it out fully through DSA, and so I know that that's what's taken so long, and I appreciate the community's patience with the fence that surrounds the exterior of the district and Acton School. But you notice today they took down the wrought iron posts to 4 feet per the agreement, and then those will be sleeves that are, what do you call it, composite fencing, metal fencing, to replicate kind of near what's across the street at the park, the more rustic type fencing. So not including any interior fencing for security purposes around Acton School itself. So that will all remain. Let's see, as far as High Desert, we do have an installation of a new AC unit at Mr. Rowland's enrichment program, which is the handbells. Vasquez High School, pending installation of a 4-foot chain link fence at the basketball courts with 2 gates for increased security. So that was part of what I talked about earlier, that we aren't able to get all that done prior to this Friday, but we will have those pieces done before the next home game. No construction at all. Dulce, fire system, annual fire testing due, dates to be announced. This would just be a small fence, just to...
At the south end of the basketball, separating it from the softball facility.
That dirt path that we were walking on, yes.
Down at the east end of the campus, way up by the basketball court.
Right where you and I and Mr. Broccoli were standing, next to the visitor section, if you want to go to concessions, you make a right down the dirt path. If you make a left, we want to stop people, so we're just putting a 4-foot fence there as a deterrent.
So that they can only go back towards the parking lot, back that direction.
Correct.
Okay. But not down by the basketball court.
Right. PBIS, I think it was Jackie Ayer who commented at the board meeting. I don't know if she's here tonight, but other folks have asked for it as well. So that's scheduled for October 9th as far as a community parent education piece on PBIS, which is positive behavior interventions and supports.
Do you know what time on the 9th?
We'll get that to you.
Okay.
We'll get that out to you.
I'm interested myself.
Now, it's Dr. Cooper, do you happen to know the time? If you don't, it's okay.
Say it again,
The
sir.
PBIS training on October 9th?
Oh, we don't have the time set, we just have the date.
That's fine, no problem. Let's see, just polar plunge. So every year, the Rotary Club up at Lake Arrowhead sponsors a polar plunge. It's a fundraiser, and 50% of the proceeds go towards the Rotary Club, 50% goes toward the organization. So I've been working with the parent presidents, and I will jump in the lake in February at Lake Arrowhead. And so I've done it 2 times before, in 2015 and 2016. It's not that bad if anybody wants to go with me.
I'm in.
And, you go?
I'm in.
Awesome. All
I
right.
want you on Facebook.
Mr. Roque, all right, so you'll hear more about that, but this will become a State Gold Scholarship for our seniors. So any funds that we're able to raise will become a superintendent parent collaborative scholarship fund for our seniors at the high school. And if we make $2,000, however the parents decide they want to split it up, there'll be an application form for the students. They can apply for the scholarships, and when they're awarded, that will take place at a parent luncheon, which will be our first annual Stable Parent Luncheon in the spring. So, the polar plunge, I will get that to you. It's in February, I just don't remember the date. But we'll get that out, we'll have posters made and so on. And again, Chip, anybody who wants to jump in with me, you're welcome.
I'll have the hot cocoa ready for you.
Nice, okay, good. All right.
We're at Life Fest, so I can say, I'll throw the Life Fest to you.
This is all very charming.
All right. And I just want to thank our parents. They're really upping their game as far as governance goes and doing a nice job of collaborating, working together, and making things district instead of just school. So even at the bake sales, that they've been doing it back to school nights, high school parents coming to Metal Art going to the high school event. So it's been really nice to see the collaboration. Charter report, we have a very short slideshow to show you. We'll get that ready for you. While that's getting ready, we want to also let the board know about the Medal of Honor trainings coming up. So the Reagan Library trainings are the 25th of this month for secondary educators, the 26th of this month for elementary educators, and October 4th, I'll be going to that one, is in San Diego for elementary, because the 26th is the board meeting. So anyhow, so I'm going October 4th in San Diego. If any board members would like to go, we can send you those dates again. But Marilyn Alford, who you're also approving that contract tonight as far as Medal of Honor goes, is facilitating on September 25th and October 4th. And I saw her last year. She does an amazing job. I know that you're very patriotic, Mr. Roque, and have connections with DFW. This is something that I think the board would enjoy if you're able to come to any of those events. Are you ready? Okay. Oh, it looks ready. Okay. So this is a luncheon that was our first annual luncheon where we host our charters that we authorized for. So we met here. There's no music, so you just get to hear my voice narrate these slides. But we hosted them for lunch here in this room. Shay Patterson helped me put it together with Yolanda. Lynn David spoke a bit. We did some activities. You see we had some board representation there with Mr. Roque. And we did some educational, instructional pieces just to kind of exemplify what we want to see in our classrooms, both in charter schools and in our traditional public schools. So all 12 charters have representation here. And you see Jeff Martineau live here as well. They were great participants. We kind of did a round table with input as far as who they are, what position they hold at their organization. We did a lot of networking before and after the luncheon as far as what we can do to support each other. One of the charters is talking to our district about possibly doing at the California Charter School Association conference this year, maybe doing a collaborative panel session together. And they've even gone as far as asking if we might have board representation from our district on that panel to kind of share what it's like to have a healthy partnership with a charter. They said, they all said, Shay, you could probably verify this, but they were very complimentary of the relationship that this board, this district has with them as their authorizer. So they appreciate the fact that you hold up a high bar. They also appreciate the fact that you don't treat them like they're the enemy, which is often the case even when they're approved in other districts. So I share that with you. The last piece I think we have a video tonight for you that was put together by the students at Vasquez High School. And it's not a documentary. Sometimes we show you state-level documentaries, but this one is a kind of just a beginning of the year video.
Charter submission.
Good evening, both President Fox, board members, and Superintendent King. Is this on?
No.
Test. Test. I should use mine.
Maybe just use your teacher voice.
Yeah.
Are we actually going to have a presentation tonight?
No,
Thank you.
I'll just use my teacher voice. I've got a loud enough voice. I think you've got the binders in front of you. It is for a materials revision. It's for the addition of 3 resource centers. 2 of them are co-locations with a WIOA partner, and 1 is a standalone. In addition, there are some language updates to the WIOA language throughout it. We made sure that in the front packet of the binder, it kind of breaks down everything you need to know, where the changes are, page numbers and everything. You have the red line versions in your binder. The electronic clean copy is actually on a flash drive in the back of the binder. So if you want to see a clean copy, there's a clean copy available electronically. Otherwise, if you have any questions, let Michelle know, and I guess we'll be back soon to do a public hearing. I did want to take this time also to mention thank you so much for the luncheon you had for the charter schools. We actually had 4 members from Assurance come and also from Mission Academy attend. We appreciated it. I think it is important as a group. I consider this actually a second home. I think I spend just as much time here as I spend with Assurance. But we do appreciate it. The lunch was great. The activities were great, and all of the comments I heard from the other charter representatives was it's certainly needed. It's nice to sit in the room and know who the team is. And we appreciated that you referred to us as the team. We think we're just as much a part of Acton-Agua Dulce as anyone else, and we appreciate your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're at 8.8 board member comments. I'll start with Mr. Roque.
I really don't have any comments for today, except for welcome back to Vasquez and all of our students. Congratulations on the wins, and thank you for this. I'm looking forward to a lot of the events.
Mr. Jorgensen.
Yes, I have a few comments that I want to go over here. First off, I want to extend my appreciation to the staff from Meadowlark, High Desert, and from Vasquez for your back-to-school nights. Attended all 3 of them, and the classrooms at Meadowlark were exceptional. Teachers were engaged, parents, and a lot of kids running around, which was great. Same thing at High Desert. I promised that I would ask the question, the special day class that was remodeled from home ec, they're still waiting on their smart board. Do we know when that's going to be installed in that classroom?
Ms. David, do we know, or is Mr. Moore here?
Yes, I'm working on that right now. Within a week or 2, we should have everything completed.
Thank you.
Yeah, the wall actually has to be finished. We're trying to use internal staff for it rather than going outside so that our internal staff can benefit from some additional hours and we can utilize the expertise that we have here. So once that's done, we'll be able to put the smart board in.
Perfect. Thank you.
She's looking forward to it. Everything looked great. The classroom was great. And I came in and I wrote, hey, nice touch on the wall. And then we got into a conversation. So I told her that I would mention it, and I appreciate that. Got the Vasquez and the classroom, the teachers walking around the campus were doing well. the teachers are engaged. And there's a different setting at the high school than there are from the elementary to the middle school to the high school, because it gets progressively better in the sense that you have young independent people. Like I walked into Mr. Sheldon's classroom and nobody was there, and I said, well, you're a senior parents. They expect their kids to do it. So he had the fewest kids and the fewest parent visits in his classroom, but everybody was prepared well. So congratulations to all the teachers and the staff for getting that back to school night done. The second thing I want to talk about is, like, of course, our Vasquez football game. They had a great home game. They played 46 minutes, a little over 46 minutes of great football. Both teams were, playing hard, playing well, and it was an unfortunate injury that kind of put a stall in things. And then things got a little bit crazy after that. Mr. Brockway, Athletic Director Sheldon, and I think Guida was down there making sure that everything was handled appropriately. So congratulations on getting that under control. It's always a tough game. Sheldon came up. The other thing I wanted to recognize was the staff appreciation night, where staff would wear, by invitation, a jersey of one of the athletes, and I thought that was a terrific idea. I did remind you, I said, Sheldon, wear something to make sure that they don't think you're just some old brother or an alumni friend running around there. Get your AD badge on the outside of your jersey. But I thought that was a great idea. With regards to the home contest, I said I appreciate having the walk around that I had with Superintendent King and Mr. Brockway. We were walking around about ideas and concerns, and I kept reflecting back to my time when I was coaching football, basketball, volleyball. We were always afforded, when we traveled, a dedicated space for our teams to prepare for the contest. I encouraged Mr. Brockway, and I said, as a coach, I would have challenges and difficulty with visitors walking through my team area while I was preparing for a game. And our facilities are what they are. And I was encouraging them to come up with alternatives and something else that we could keep our fans, the separation for crowd management, safety. We want people to come to our games. We want them to enjoy the games. There's always going to be a knucklehead that's going to say something, do something that's going to cause us a challenge, but we have to be prepared. We have two physical levels. We have a lower level and an upper level, allowing fans to go into an area where we can't see, and it's secondary lighting, as to me was a concern. So I had the opportunity to express that with the Principal Brockway and Superintendent King. We went over the questions, and I see that you're addressing some of those. I'm going to stand firm with my concern about allowing any spectator to walk through a visitor's team. That's character, that's integrity. We're the host school. We provide them an opportunity to come and have a competitive, safe event, and I think we owe that to them. I would expect that when I go to any place, when I was coaching, I'm hopeful that we can get that squared away before we get that. So until we get things squared away, that we still honor that commitment to our visiting contestants. The only other concern I had was the concessions. I said, I realize we have a really nice facility on Larry Layton Field down there. We have a really nice facility. We have restrooms down there, and the desire to use those facilities that we have are great. But then again, it's separate apart from where we're actually holding our contest, and we have people going from one area to our campus to another area. I like keeping people around. It adds to the atmosphere. It helps with crowd control. So I just want to make sure that we address those issues. Mr. Brockway, Principal Brockway, was very receptive, shared some ideas, and that's one that I'm encouraged about, is I have someone who is, I'm comfortable, is actively looking out for the welfare of our programs, our athletic programs, our student safety, and our spectator safety. So I applaud you for that. And I know you took a tumble, and I stood still, and I watched them all bail out, and I go, wait, here, going something on here. But so it was handled well. It was unfortunate. Again, our student athletes played a great game. Finally had to call it with 1:31 left on the clock and get out of there and stuff, so that everybody can calm down and get things done. So I appreciate your hard work on that, and make sure that, and I hope that we can have further considerations so that you can get together with, because I talked to you about that an athletic contest is like a production. We have our athletes work hard. They're the star show. Everybody wants to come watch them. They make a safe place, a competitive place that has all the spirit that draws people in. Everybody wants to come to Vasquez and watch some good football on Friday night, a basketball game in our new gymnasium. So it's a production where athletics, ASB, and the administration work together to put that on so the students shine and they can have a safe contest.
Mr. Falco?
I'm getting danced on all over, but whatever. Mr. Brockway, I don't want to get in a bunch of detail here, but thank you for your poise and your positive representation of the district in your recent WWF WrestleMania contest that began as a football game. But to be serious, I think that it took a while for the Sheriff's Department to get there, and I think it would behoove everyone, whether it's the PTSO groups or whatever, to understand maybe through the resident deputy, to have a little meeting and have them discuss what a response like that looks like when the call is picked up. It goes to the station in Palmdale and how long before the helicopter and everything gets here, because I think planning all these things is good, but I think you need to know about the capability. If I could go back 10 years, we would have more county involvement in the city, or town. So I think we would end up with a basic substation. We've got somebody here all the time, but we don't have to wait 20 minutes for the helicopters and 40 squad cars to get here. But I would like to see people understand what the logistics and time response is when something like that is needed. So I'm glad to see any time the resident deputy is called in. I want to talk a little bit about high desert sports. No less than awesome. I'm not sure that everybody understands. We've had some declines in the sports participation at the high school level. I think that this is the answer to that. I think you're going to have feeder programs coming up from this. I think you're going to see increases there. That's going to mean ADA. I really want to thank the Dulce Airport for their contributions for the uniforms the kids are wearing. Again, back to school night was a great success. I really enjoyed seeing the PTSO, the booster, and the ELAC people spelling each other so the parents could actually go see their teacher rather than sitting out there and making me fat with their brownies, which are excellent. And I'm really excited about the positive group influence these groups are having together across all the campuses. I'm about equity and positivity, not helicopter and tribalism and that kind of thing. So I want to give a shout out to the mommies. You know who you are and what you do every day in this district, and I so much appreciate that, even if you don't get much credit for it. Finally, I work in a municipality that has a very restrictive tobacco use and sales policy. In fact, I think they're the first city in the United States that has totally restricted the sale of tobacco and vaping products anywhere in the city. But I'm seeing more and more things on the internet about people's lungs that having pulmonary failure and other terms, I don't even know what they are, but anyway, you got 24-year-old kids dying because their lungs quit working. I'm going to give you a couple of things, and this will probably shock you, because if you're getting health tips and crime prevention tips from me, there's probably a huge problem. But I'll tell you, teachers, if you see a backpack laying against a wall near an outlet, there's no computer being charged a vaping pen, right? And something else that we might want to notice, if there's a car going in and out of the parking lot every 12 to 15 minutes, either somebody's really confused about where they're going, or somebody's selling dope. So I think we need to torque down on some of this stuff and keep a better eye on it. So anything we can do to make sure the kids that go here that don't want to participate in that stuff and be exposed to the stuff that comes with it, whether it's breathing somebody else's whatever they're spitting out of their lungs today. I do know that there's starting to be octane level sensors that are able to put in bathrooms, so as soon as the octane level changes, boom, the alarm goes off, and then you do know that people are vaping. I don't care to see that in our schools. I don't care to see students that don't want to participate in that exposed to it. Callie.
I don't have a lot of a comment. I just want to apologize for missing High Desert and Meadowlark school night. I was ill out of town, but I did make it to the high school last night. Thank you, and thank you for the way you handled everything on Friday night. Let's hope we have another victory tomorrow night at our homecoming game. I know our football coach has some spectacular purple and gold shoes, I hear, so he's ready to go. So I'm looking forward to a good game, and thank you very much for all that you've been doing. And thank you to all our volunteers that are out there selling some goodies, and it was just nice to see that even though a lot of high school parents don't come, it was great to see, great turnout, so thank you very much for that. For the board, I just want to make sure you guys know that we have the Antelope Valley School Boards Association meeting on September 24th at Lancaster High School. It's a good one, this is the big one for the year, so if you guys can mark your calendars for that, we should all attend that.
What day? You just said that.
It's the 24th at 6 o'clock Lancaster High School.
September 24th.
Yeah,
We can email her.
Yeah, Yolanda will send it out, but just so you can mark your calendars, and we should try to make that meeting.
We can bring our admin team to that as well, is that
You
what?
can bring your admin team as well, they can make it.
Okay, that'd be great.
That's correct. But anyway, so, it's a good one.
Well done.
That's it.
Okay, I'll be very brief tonight, unlike last meeting. I also attended back to school night. It was my last year attending back to school night as a parent. And so, you know, it was a little bit bittersweet. I do appreciate, now that's okay. I'll be clicking my heels when I'm moving them out. But, okay. So seriously, thank you for the teachers. And I know it's hard at high school level. You know, the truth is, my parents never went to one of my back to school nights at high school level. So I'm actually encouraged that these days parents stay a little bit more involved, a little bit longer. And maybe it's because the world's gotten so much more complicated, but it's a good thing. And anyway, thank you to the teachers for hosting, even if your classrooms were sometimes a little bit lonely. You know, I enjoyed learning about what my child will be doing this year. Thank you. That's it. Okay, sorry. Maybe I do need a Kleenex. All right, so that's board member comments. And, okay, 9.1 is to approve the consent agenda, and I'll ask that we move it in, and then I have a slight change to suggest to my board member. Okay, so Mr. Falsgraf moved in. Somebody want a second? Second. Oh, okay. All right, I got that. Okay, I'm going to ask that we break out separately 9.7, the personal action report, so that I can abstain when we vote on that. Does any discussion on that modification to the consent agenda?
No, sir, should I move that we vote on, barring other board members' questions or comments on the rest of them, that we vote collectively on everything except 9.7, and then pull that out for a vote.
Thank you. Make that motion.
Somebody second that.
I'll second it. Okay, so now let's call the question to approve the agenda as it's been modified. Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so that's a 5-0-0 to approve agenda as modified. Okay, next, let's actually then, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda that has been modified, which would be items 9.2 through 9.6. I'll move that, okay, Ken move that in.
Second.
Okay. Okay, 9.1 through 9.6. Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now would somebody please move in the personal action report?
I'll move that in.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Call the question on the personal action report?
Aye.
Aye. Abstain, so it's a 4-0-1. Okay,
Thank you, Mike.
Yep, I abstain because my wife worked for the district long before I was ever a board member. Having said that, she has taken a different position at the same level within the district, and that was in the report. Okay, so I felt it would be best if I just abstained. Okay, now we are, 9.8 was also included in that first vote. So it was 9.6 through 9.1 through 9.6 and 9.
Just for the sake of it.
Let's just move the rest in.
I'll move that one in.
Why don't you move in 9.8, 9. to be a scientific study, survey of registered voters and the demographics of this district.
Correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Call the question?
Aye.
11.3, unaudited actuals report 2018-19. Somebody want to move this in? I'll second it. Okay, Mr. King.
Just want to thank Ms. David for her time preparing this, and I'll turn it over to Ms. David.
Yeah, and I do also want to thank you for reminding me to thank our staff that worked on that, on this. While everyone is on vacation during summer, staff in the business department is working really hard to close the books. So closing out purchase orders that may not have been fully expended, reconciling everything, working with the consultant that we use for accounting. So I want to recognize the work that they did as well. So this is actually our unaudited actuals for 2018-19. Every year at the end of at June 30th, we spend the summer closing the books and finding out where our actual expenses, revenues, and how we end the year. When we adopt the budget, we have adopted budget and estimated actuals. So at that point, what we're doing is making assumptions based on how far expenses we've made monthly, for example, throughout the year. We're looking at our ADA. For us, ADA is a little bit different because we have the charters and we don't book anything before the certification. So if we go to the next slide, I'm going to go through some of them pretty quickly because they're slides that people would be familiar. I think you can click the arrow that's up at the top.
If you just click and scroll, you should be fine.
Max, so awesome.
Okay, and I think if we're here, I think it will bring us to the next slide. I think. Interesting. Budgets in the business office as a district. So we're closing out 18-19, and we already have adopted 19-20. So we're constantly working on 2 budgets, if not 3. So we can just go ahead to the next. This is what our unaudited actuals report is. Again, you guys have seen this a million times, but I still include it for people who may be coming to meetings for the first time. We have general fund, which includes both restricted and unrestricted funds. Unrestricted funds can be used for any operational cost. Restricted funds are for things such as specialized programs to close achievement gaps for English learners, special education. Those actually do fall still under general fund, but they're restricted for special purposes. Then we have other funds, funds 13 through 40, which are other specialized purposes. They are actually restricted to things like capitalized improvement, construction projects, cafeteria funds, such. So let's skip that. I just do like to include it because of the fact that there may be people who are seeing it for the first time. Our expenditures were aligned to our LCAP goals. Trustees should have gotten on their desk copy an approval letter from the state, or from the county for our 1920 LCAP and budget, but that included in portion what actually happened the last year as well. So again, we continue to have our expenditures aligned to our LCAP goals. We'll go on to the next slide and get to the really good stuff. Okay, so here we have the assumptions. And so just to clarify, I once had someone ask, well, what does assumption mean? Does that mean you're guessing? Not really. This is based, it's kind of an educated guess. Some of the stuff is very factual. Our enrollment is a known fact based on October, the first Wednesday in October. Our funded ADA is a known number based on P2 at a certain point in time. So most of this is known numbers. So those are, when we say assumptions, it's not like we're guessing. It's what we're using when we create the budget. One of the things I'll point out, charter oversight fees and administrative fees remain at 3%. Local revenues increased due to higher ADA and charter schools. So those are the key points off of there. And next slide, unless there's any questions. So this is probably one of the two most important slides in here. So at estimated actuals, we brought those to you in June, along with adopted budget. You can see a comparison of estimated actuals, unaudited actuals. Again, our revenues tend to fluctuate. We had a little bit lower LCFF funding for ourselves. We had higher charter funding. Our expenditures were significantly less than than we had anticipated, partly because Ernesto and certain schools actually were very conservative with their money, so that's a good thing. At the end of the day, if you look at unaudited actuals, we actually have between our revenues and expenditures because of, and when we get to the next slide, I'll show the specifics as to what attributed to that. We actually have a difference of 1.3 million to the good, which is a good thing because that will help us when we get to our multi-year. But it's primarily because of, if we go to the next slide, I'll show you what the specifics are that contributed to that. There was an ADA increase when the district and charter schools did actually certify. So again, P2 actually occurs in April. P2 is a period of attendance. Attendance is a function of enrollment to actual attendance rate. Yes?
Can you go up one slide? Or just back up one slide? So when I look at the numbers, revenue is actually lower by $110,000 than June. So it looks to me like everything was kind of realized by the tight control on expenditures. So if the revenue is actually down $110,000, why is it in the next chart you're citing increased ADA? Wouldn't that tend to push revenues up?
So some of our ADA was up and some of it was down. So we had some lower LCFF, but the amount of charter revenue we originally projected because of,
so their
to be
ADA
conservative.
went up a little bit.
Yes, so there's two things that happened with respect to the ADA and the revenue. One of them was that once we got certification in June of the actual numbers that the state and the county office had accepted the numbers that we presented in P2, not just for ourselves, but for the charters. Our charters, some of them had a lot of growth, a lot of growth last year.
And so that's offsetting some of the actual
Yes, we
shortfalls.
originally projected what we felt safe. We knew that it would not go lower
Yeah.
because it's always current or prior year. We originally booked about $3.5 million. Our charter revenue came in at $5.6 million last year.
More than offsetting whatever other losses in revenue.
Correct.
For a net of $110,000.
Correct.
Okay.
And then they changed the allocation formula for special education as well. So that actually was, that actually contributed almost $750,000 to our budget. So where we had decreases in some revenue, the charter revenue went up significantly. We also had improved position control. So last year we worked really hard at making sure that staff, that we were subbing only where necessary, that we were only hiring where necessary, and we were really looking at the needed staffing levels, especially in the classified was where we did a lot of cleanup. And we actually had people who were not necessarily out. We budget for subs for both classified and certificated. We had a pretty healthy year last year, and I don't think any pregnancies. So, so as far as that goes, our position control increased. We had about $100,000 of unexpended supply and material budget. And then contracted service and legal expenses, we had approximately $200,000 left there. We had several cases that we had discussed in closed session, things that were still pending, and we also had budgeted for potential challenges with some of our charter schools. So that actually is what contributed all together to an increase in our general fund. So if there's no other questions, we'll go to the next slide, which shows our multi-year. This is what's really the important piece. for people who were here when we did our adopted budget, there is a concern is that we had 3 charter schools that either did not return or withdrew petitions, which is going to decrease going forward our charter revenue by approximately $2 million a year in oversight fees. That fact still remains. But because we have a larger ending fund balance, that'll carry us through and it will help us out further. If you were to compare this to the adopted budget multi-year, where we're getting into the 2021 or 21-22, we're starting to get closer to approximately 9%. This actually gives us an extra year before we're concerned. What I included in this one that I haven't included in prior multi-years was the last line where it says change in reserve level from the prior year. So the change in our reserve level from prior year to this, because of that loss of $2 million, is approximately the money that we have that's freed up is almost 16%. And then our reserve level changes by almost 9% per year. So we do need to keep that in mind. What this is based on is it does include the raises that we approved for staff. It does not include any changes in ADA. We include some declining enrollment. When we did adopted budget, our enrollment is slightly less than what we budgeted for. As of last week, we're approximately 7 students down from what I budgeted. So at first interim, I'll need to make that adjustment, and students generate approximately $10,000 per ADA. So we have some good news, but we also have some challenges that we're going to have to look at, which is declining enrollment in the community. Our kindergarten class has approximately, I believe, 55 students, as opposed to our outgoing classes, which are in the higher grades of approximately 85. So we'll need to look at those things so that we can maintain our reserves. So these are our other funds. I try and organize them into, even though the numbers are a little bit out of sequence, these are things that are projects or funds that are other than capitalized projects. So our cafeteria fund, we closed the school. We have still pending, even though the project